Are we on? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a few minutes. People will show up. They'll join me, hopefully. Welcome, welcome. It's always kind of fun, you know. People start showing up. They like us. They come back week after week. It's pretty great. Good morning. Good morning. Happy to have you guys here. We're back again. Sew Together Tuesday. We're going to do something a little bit different, but kind of the same again this week. So we're back at Sew Together Tuesday. I'm Teresa Coates. I'm the National Educator for Shannon Fabrics. And we've been doing all sorts of fun things. So if you were here last week, so I want to start off with some stuff from last week. If you were here last week, we did a cuddle patchwork quilt. And so I got to show you guys a bunch of stuff on how to put that together, what worked for me, what I would suggest you do instead. And then we finished up. And when we finished, I still had to do some stitch in the ditch, and then I needed to bind the quilt. And I wasn't going to make you stay with me while I did all that because it's long and tedious and kind of boring. So I did it over the weekend. So that's what I did. So this is the quilt we did last week. Let me stand up. I can show you the whole thing. So let's see. I did it in a square. Okay. Can you see it all, Hawk?
Back up a little bit.
Do. I'll back up. You back up.
There we go.
Okay. There's the whole guy. Okay. So what I did was and you'll notice I have my tiara this week. So I'll wear it today for you guys. Okay. Yeah, it showed up. So what I did is I used the stitch in the ditch foot is what I did, which is going to be a foot like this. Okay. So this is the one for the baby lock. Oh, it has a little bit of thread there. So basically what it does is this little guy here goes in between the seams. So when you're sewing it, you let this ride in between here. Your needle will hit right in the center there, and you're able to stitch perfectly in the ditch. So you can see the one thing about doing it with cuddle, if you're a traditional quilter, you know sometimes you go off that ditch and then you can see it, but with the cuddle it just kind of hides in there really lovely. So even areas where I went off here, I can see that I'm slightly off here, it just totally hides in and then you can't tell. Okay, kind of a miraculous little thing. So that worked out really, really well. What I did was I just stitched over the long sections because we had put it together, if I remember right. See if I can fill the seams. Okay, there they are. So when we put it together, these were the ones that we stitched it and then we flipped it. Okay, so these are the seams that I sewed, were these side ones. All right, so you can see that so many threads. So you can see that on the back is that I just stitched down those and it made this nice little grid work on the back, which is totally enough. I read the package, and this one, so this is the Quilter's Dream poly batting, and it says that you can quilt every 12 inches. Okay, so and the batting will hold together just fine. So if you were here last week, we talked about it, like how much do you need to quilt, and it really depends on your batting. So the Quilter's Dream batting was every 12 inches could be quilted, which was perfectly fine because these end up being about 9.5 inches or so across here, maybe 9 inches. Okay, so then I just bound it and then I fluffed up the edges a little bit, and yeah, we're good to go. So if you haven't seen the binding before, we'll probably do it again at some point, but we've done a couple videos. They're on YouTube. I just sew it to the back, bring it around to the front, and then zigzag it down. Okay, raw edge. All right, so super easy to do. That's what I did this weekend, and so now it's finished and we have a sample. I'm pretty excited about that. So now I have more things to try. Now that I'm like, oh, that's achievable. So now there's so many more things just opened up for me. Okay. All right, so that was last week. I have a couple other things that I needed to tell you about, and thanks everybody for coming. Please leave your city and state to be entered to win. We'll have a prize at the end. I'll tell you about that in a second. And then also share this with your quilter friends, your sewing groups, that sort of thing. Let other people know about it, especially if you know people who have been sort of intimidated by cuddle, who haven't wanted to sew with it because they were scared of it. Let them know that we're doing these videos every week. This week isn't about cuddle, it's about other things, but we do love to be able to share these videos. This is a really helpful one, I think, that you can share with kind of a lot of people though too, because it's about masks. And so there's a lot of people that need them, and we've worked out some things. We'll talk about it in a second. But I do want to get to some other stuff. So make sure that you share it, that you like it. You tell us your city and state, okay? So you can be entered to win. The giveaway that we announced last week for the 2-yard cuts, for the cuddle cuts, we've extended that deadline. So Arvin decided to give it another day. So you guys have until tonight at midnight to enter to win that. We're giving away hundreds of cuts that are 2 yards each that will let you make all sorts of things. And then if you win the cuts, you also get to win a class with me. So we'll be doing some online classes where we'll be teaching you how to make some different projects that you can use that fabric with. So that's kind of exciting. It'll be a little bit more personal than this, and that I can see you too. So that'll be kind of exciting, and we'll actually get to do some sewing together. So so make sure you enter to win that. That's on our blog, so shannonfabrics.com, the blog. Odif, the people who make that 505 spray that I love so much, they're doing a little giveaway where they are giving away the 505 spray, the paper adhesive stuff that they have that I use on the back of patterns. You spray the back of a pattern, you stick it down, it sticks to the fabric, and then you can go around it. And Odie Coat, which makes things water resistant, which is great. So anyway, they're doing a giveaway. You should check them out too, because 505 spray is kind of the best thing ever. And the quote from last week, I got that. Tell us city and state. I think I got it. Okay, now we can start with the new stuff this week. Was there anything else I needed? We're good? Okay. Are people here? Are they happy? Am I getting lots of likes? Lots of thumbs? I love you guys. Thanks for coming every week. So the giveaway, so this week we're talking about the mask. If you were here before, we did it about, early March, I think late March, I think is when we did it. I think I was not home for very long before we did it. Home, like being off the road and not teaching. So we did the masks, and I have made that mask a lot of times now. But over the last month or so, I've made it for some different people, and I've made some for me. And then we've gotten this chance to actually like wear them and use them. And as more and more states are opening up and people are being asked to wear masks in public, we need to have more of them ourselves. So I thought I will take some of the things that I've learned over the past month and then share them with you so that you guys can make masks that are more comfortable, better wearing, and know how to take care of them. So that's what we're doing today, okay? The gift that we're giving you today, the prize, which we'll announce at the end, the winner we'll announce at the end, is a stack of batiks from Hoffman. Okay, so they, Hoffman, California is based fairly close to here. It's, I don't know, Mission Viejo, it's like 30 miles from here maybe. Great company, and they do batiks, which are beautiful. And so they sent us some to work with, and I put together a 12 pack, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A 12 pack for you of the different colorways that they sent us so that you can have a little bit of variety. So there's 4 of the pinks, 4 of the purples, and 4 of the greens. Okay, so we have that pack for you. And then I have the, this is fold over elastic, which is what I'll use in the demo today. And then I'll send you non-woven interfacing. Okay, so you'll have all the pieces to be able to make, and plus the pattern. So you'll have all the pieces to make. So that's our giveaway today, which is going to be great. Okay, so today we've partnered up with Hoffman. Like I said, they're a local company to us. If you're not familiar, they make all sorts of batiks and cotton prints. They do a lot of digital prints and beautiful, beautiful cotton stuff. So we partnered up with them today, and we've partnered with them before. So we did it before when we did the mask, but we also have we've partnered with them with the digital prints. So I'm not sure if you've seen them before. We've made a whole bunch of digital prints in Cuddle that use the Hoffman prints. So they did, we did, and I don't have any here. So I asked one of our BAs, Jackie, to post a picture. So maybe she'll be able to post some, because she's done some. We have like a grizzly bear, there's a cardinal, there's a fox, there's a tiger, there's a whole bunch of different animals that we've done. And so they were Hoffman prints that they printed on cotton, and then we partnered with them and then printed it on digital Cuddle, which was beautiful. So if you haven't seen those, you really should check them out. But we really do like working with Hoffman. So they're great, their prints are lovely, and we've been able to work together in lots of really kind of fun ways. So so today the mask, like I said, I've made a bunch of them, and I wanted to talk about the variation, okay? So try to think about where I want to start. So basically we have this pattern is what we came up with last time that we printed. You can find this pattern on our website, Okay, so this is the instructions, a pattern. You will totally be somewhere in between all of these. You'll be either, like the adult works for most adults, but we found that sometimes it's a little bit wide. So we'll be doing a little bit of modeling on masks later. Hawk's going to help me out with that because his face is narrower than my face. So my face, the adult worked okay. It's a little bit wide, but not terrible at all. And his is much smaller. His is much narrower, so he has a smaller one. And what we found over the last month is doing them for different people is that we needed different ways of making them. So the first like alteration that I did on the pattern was that I made it like bandana style because that's what he wanted. He being Hawk. And so there he is. So we made bandana style. This one is also a Hoffman print. So I made a couple of them out of, these are out of Latifah Saphir's collection that she has with them. And I think it's her like 1984 collection. So he wanted it so that it was bandana style. So what I did is I made the back it goes underneath your chin, and then this comes over the front. Okay, so this is one that he wears, and he can try it on later and show you. Yeah, like my brain like tick, 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 tick. This is one I made for me out of the same, and I made this one is a wider version, so it fits my face. Okay, but what you'll notice is that this comes around. Okay, so we have a front and a back. And so this part still goes underneath your chin, okay? And it's really important that when we're wearing masks that we wear them so that they seal as much as possible around your face, okay? So I have the nose wire in mind that I like. It comes underneath your chin, and then these side straps, the way that I did this, we did it with elastic, and then you now have this ruching sort of thing that happens here, that when I pull this, it tightens up and can tighten up around your face, okay? Like I said, we'll do a little modeling soon. All right, so this was a change that I did the side differently because this was easier to put on and off. And then we did this little bandana style, okay? So the other thing that I've seen in the different masks and what people have and what they want to wear and all that sort of stuff is these around the ear ones. And this was, this has been shown a lot as these sort that go around the ear. And so I made one. The CDC recommends making this little piece of elastic 6 inches, I believe. I made it 8 inches and then knotted it, and I had to retie it once and tie it a little bit further down and then trim it. And I would suggest that you do that. So cut it a little bit longer, maybe 7 or 8 inches, and then knot it. And then if you need to make it smaller, you can. If you cut it too small, you can't like knot it bigger. The thing that I have found is that I don't particularly like the pulling on my ears. So I'm going to put this on and show you guys how it works. Because basically, then you could see, so it fits along the side, fits underneath my chin, fits over my nose, okay? So all that good stuff, and you just take these off. They're super easy to take on and off, but they do pull on your ear the whole time. So for me, it was something that I don't want to have to deal with that when I'm going to be wearing them for a long time. So like if I'm going to the grocery store, I don't want to have to constantly feel that. So the way that I make them is with a strap. Here's that pink one. That comes up and around. So this strap, I'll give you this number again later, but the strap is 26 inches long is what I cut it. And mine is just fold over elastic, so it's real stretchy. It'll pull back, so I cut it 26 inches, I knotted it, and then I just put that at the bottom, so you're gonna feed it up and through, okay? And I'll show all of that later on how we do it exactly, all right? But what I found is that this is more comfortable. So I'll show you how I put this one on too. See if I can do this with the tiara. Okay, and Hawk and I were talking about it too because he's had to do some work and leave the house a lot more than I have. So, and he found this was more comfortable and better than the ties too, because you can sort of, one of the things you can leave it around your neck until you need to put it on, and then you can just put it on. Ta-da! Look, Mom, no hands. Okay, so right? I think so. Okay, so if I get it up here. Okay, and then back here, it holds on tightly and is tight around here. I can bend this, it's tight around my face. Okay? As I said on my Instagram post, it's like the only time I'll ever wear pink. Pink is not my favorite color, but at least it looks okay on me. Okay, so that was what I found, is that I prefer this type of staying on my head. I don't like the ears. I don't like it over the ears. I prefer that over the ties because it's faster. So the ties work in the same exact way, but it's faster to put it on with elastic. So if you don't have elastic, which is definitely getting easier to find, at the end of March, it was nearly impossible to find anywhere. It's getting a little bit easier now. So that works really well. And like I said, I use the fold over elastic. Mine, some of it is from by Annie, and I know Dritz makes a lot of it too. So both of them will work perfectly fine, whatever you can find. Okay? All right. Are we ready? Start making a project? Okay. So we talked a lot about it. Now let's just make a mask, and I'll show you what I'm doing with all the things. Okay? So I'll get these out of the way. So I'm going to make the bandana style today just so you guys can see how that works. All right. Oh, that's right. So I made a bunch of variations. So this is my version of the bandana style. This is mine. This one is my friend Lauren's. I made her one. So I had made her one from the pattern before, and she's a petite woman, so I made her the teen size. And what we found is it was too long because her face is shorter because she's petite. And so so she has like a prominent nose and a small chin is what she says. So we worked together to make it so that it basically fit her face better. And then I just made a mask that worked with her. So, and like I said, for Hawks, his face was narrower than mine. So you're going to have to kind of tweak the pattern, but you know, make one, see how it works, and make more. Okay, and that was my suggestion before: is don't make a whole ton of them and then hope that they work. Make one, see if you need some adjustments. On Lauren's, we ended up making this so that it's a little bit, basically a deeper pleat at the top of the nose. So you can make it a deeper pleat or a shallower pleat, whichever you need to do, but make sure that it works for you. I also really like it on mine. You'll notice that I make mine like swoop a little bit more. Okay, so the original pattern kind of just comes up a little bit. I made mine swoop a little more because I liked it better. It fit higher up on my nose and could go under my glasses better. Okay, so it really is just personal preference. Play along. There are a whole bunch of other patterns that are out there, and find the one that fits your face the best. Ours, it just, so you can see Hawks and Teresa's masks, vastly different. Okay. They came from the same pattern. We just did some tweaking and made them work. And your masks have worked just fine, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Love them.
Good.
I really like the continuous piece of elastic because it lets more of the elastic go through underneath and get it over my head and around my neck, and then it slides through the pockets.
Right.
When I want to put the second strap over the top of my head.
Yes, because the first one, that we did, I did with elastic. What we did is I sewed a piece of elastic to here. So basically it would just take the place of the ties. So it was sewn to here and then sewn here. So it was 2 elastic pieces. And so this one was much smaller because it has to fit around his neck. So what was happening is it was hard to get over his head. So yeah, that's exactly right. It's with this continuous piece, you could put a whole bunch down at the bottom, slip it over your head, pull it up to the top, and then pull it over. Okay, so that seems to work really well. And like I said, he's had to take his on and off and wear a mask a lot more than I have. I've just happily stayed home and sewed a lot. So I wear mine when I have to go out to the post office or the grocery store. Okay, so we've got our pattern. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you how to do it with just the regular pattern. So this is one that I have that was for me. Okay. So if you want to do the bandana style, this is what you're going to do. All right, that's what we're talking about. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace the sky. Okay. And I'm just going to trace all around the pattern as it starts to come here, and then I'm going to stop because I don't need to trace this all the way down because I need this to go this direction. So what I did, and this was me just figuring out what sort of worked, is I made this line and this line parallel. So I found a spot on my ruler until it matched. Okay, so up here I'm bumping into this line, right? There's my pattern where I traced it, and then over here this is basically along this line, except I couldn't draw a straight line to save my life there, but I'm just going to keep that basically parallel. Okay, then I'm going to draw this down. So when on his and on mine as well, I did the same. I did it so that it was 11 inches from top to bottom. So this is where my top is. Here's where my bottom is. Okay, so here's where I end. And then I'm going to come back over here, and I'm just going to make these 2 points match. Okay. All right, so there we go. Ta-da, that was it. Super duper easy. Okay, I was like, I tried to get all my tools together today, guys. Like, I'm so bad at not keeping my tools together. And then I was worried there for a second I didn't have my paper scissors again, but I did. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to place this on the fold. Okay. So the important thing to note is that if I cut straight, right here is where it starts to diverge. Okay, so I want to make sure that this part is all going to be on the fold, and this part is going to be a little dart that's up at the top. Okay, so I just mark that so that when I lay it on the fabric, it's easy enough to see where I'm supposed to start making it match on the fold and where I need to do my pleat. Okay, are there any questions? Are people commenting?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If you have any questions, please, share them, and either somebody will answer them in the comments or will ask me, and I will share that information with you. Okay, so now I've got my pattern. So now we're going to cut out the fabric. I've got a couple of different fabrics that I am going to work with. Let's see. Kind of feel like part of it is like, how will it look if it's long? I feel like that one will be kind of fun because it's got the stripes in it. So let's do that one, and we'll do this one as the inner fabric. Okay.
So why are you using batiks?
Oh, so I'm using batiks because they are a higher count cotton. So what we have found, and what we had sort of researched before that very first video even, is that we want something that is cotton so that it's breathable. We also want it to have a higher filtration level, so a tighter weave will hold more stuff out. So there's been a whole bunch of research that's been done in the last month about masks and how to make them better. The CDC recommends at least 2 layers, so we're going to do ours 3 layers. We're going to do 2 layers of cotton batik and a layer of non-woven interfacing. The non-woven just creates a different type of layer, so if you can sort of like imagine all of that magnified of the weaves of the cotton and then the non-woven of the interfacing, I feel like that's probably a better barrier, and adds a little bit of oomph to it in my mind. But batiks are a very high count cotton because they have been washed and dried several times by the time they get to us. So honest to God, batiks are, they put the wax on them, they dye them, they wash all the wax out, so they wash them very, very hot, then dry them, and then they do it again. So depending on how many layers it's got of color that you have in there, you're going to have different washings. But they will all have been washed numerous times, so they've already been pre-shrunk really hard. We posted about it, or I showed pictures last time. I really should just post it on my blog. The pictures of the fabrics all blown up. It was kind of fascinating. Okay, so yes, good question. So that's what I like to use. I like to use a batik, especially for the inside, and then the interfacing, and the outside we've done cotton too. So like the ones that are Latifah's fabrics are just cotton, but we have a layer of batik and the interfacing. Okay, all right, so now I've got this on here. I'm going to do 1 layer of this, that's the outside fabric, okay, and then I'll do one of the inside and the interfacing, okay, but I'm just going to use my rotary cutter here and cut out the pattern. Okay, and so here, this is where I have to be careful, and of course my mark is on the other side because, you know, that's the way things go. Okay, but this is where my mark was, so that's where the fold has to go, and then I'm gonna do my little pleat line over here. So this is where I'll start cutting, cut over here. All right, it's sort of hard to tell because if you don't mark it, because it's such a narrow little difference at first that it's easy to miss it and not get an accurate cut. Okay, all right, so now I've got that piece. Okay, and actually, The other thing I want to cut out of here, the way that I like to do it is I do this little side piece out of the same fabric most of the time. On this one, you can see I just did it out of black. So you could do it either way. You could do self fabric or you know, a complementary fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to do it out of self fabric. Actually, this might be hard to see. I'm going to do it out of the other just to be fun. Okay, you'll be able to see this a little bit better what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to cut I'm going to cut the interfacing and the fabric at the same time. Okay, that way I know that they're just exactly the same. And then I'll cut my little borders. Okay. All right. All right, so then we'll cut these out. And those are going to work together as one layer. So I'm going to cut them out together and then I'm going to sew them together. So while it's 3 layers, these 2 layers will just act as one as we're working. Okay. I've had a few people recommend or ask about using a fusible, and I've heard people do it. It just isn't something that I want to do. I like the idea of there not being glue on my way through what I'm breathing. But like I said, that's just personal preference. I don't know that you're not supposed to. I just don't particularly want to. Okay. So I use obviously a non-fusible. Okay. So now I've got my pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this right now. Just stack these things differently so that I can sew them together like this. Okay. So now I've got a layer of interfacing, batik, interfacing. I'm going to sew these together, right sides together, and it'll become the inside of my mask. Okay? So I've got those pieces. I'm going to set those aside. Now I need to cut that little piece that's going to be the side, and I need to cut the wire cover. All right? So I'm going to do this. That little piece, you're going to measure on your piece here. I'm going to show you guys. So we're going to have, so this is my side piece here is a little bit more than 4.5 inches. If I take off my 1/4 inch seam here and my 1/4 inch seam, that means it's just more than 4 inches. So I'm going to make this side piece 4 inches long. Okay, you can totally change this. On Lauren's, her mask is much smaller. Okay, so I would still measure 1/4 inch, and then measure that space in between. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so it's sort of like there's no magic measurement for that. It really is just like, you know, what works. Okay, so I'm actually going to measure this. So 4 inches is how long I want that to finish. I'm going to cut it at 4.5 and turn down those edges.
What was the brand of the interfacing again?
It's Pellon. It's a Pellon. I don't know what the number is because I have it off the bolt, but it's their lightweight sew-in interfacing is what that is. Okay. All right, so now I've got this cut at 4.5, and I'm gonna cut it a little bit wider than I need. So I'm gonna cut a 4.5 by 4-ish, more like 3.5-ish strip. Okay. So I've got that. I'm gonna tackle that in just a second. I have to do a little bit more to that. And then I'm going to cut my nose strip, okay? So my nose strip I do on the 45, excuse me. So I'm going to find the little 45 on my ruler here, which is this line here. I'm going to line it up with the cut edge of my fabric, and I'm going to cut a little strip, okay? I do it a heavy 1/2 inch, or I guess more like 4, is it 5/8 then I guess it would be? It's a little bit more, yeah. Yep. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8 of an inch, okay? So 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch on the 45. So I do this so that I don't have to finish the edges at all, and because it's on the bias, it's not gonna fray. okay, or it will fray very little. It's a little bit stronger that way. Okay, so now I'm just going to make this 4 inches long. So on some of them I've made them 4 inches, some of them I've made them 5 inches. That's just something that you're going to want to play with and see how long you want that to be. The longer it is, the further it'll go over. So what I found is the 5 inches is nice if I'm just wearing my contacts, because it comes further over here and will hold it down more. But if I'm wearing my glasses, it sort of interferes with the glasses that hit my cheek, because I have kind of apple cheeks.
So ahead, what are you using for the wire that's going to go in there?
I am using just a chenille stem, just pipe cleaners, okay? Not real pipe cleaners. Yeah, I ordered that on accident. Oops. Okay, so this is my little nose one. All right. So now we've got our outside fabric, our inside fabric, the interfacing, the little nose wire cover, and then this is our little side strip. So first we're going to start with this. I'm going to just get these set aside so then we can just assemble. All right. So what I'm going to do with these, let's see if I can get this to get wet again. So this is that little fabric folding pen that we showed a couple weeks ago when we were doing the Embrace pajamas. Okay. So this is a great way to just easily fold things. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to use this. Batiks, there is a right side and a wrong side of the batiks. And this is I can see this is the right side and this is the wrong side, because this one is a little bit muddied just slightly. But honest to God, most of the time you can't tell the difference. And unless you've worked with them a lot, or maybe for a fabric company, you wouldn't really notice the difference. Okay. So this, let's see if I can get that wet to come through. There we go. So this little fabric folding pen is from Clover. It's a neat little tool. And then I got too much. Oops. Okay. But it gets a little bit on there. You just draw it down the line. And then it folds over nicely. And it will stay. Okay. So this way I can not use my iron to make these little tiny hems. Because trying to measure a 1/4 of an inch on the iron is crazy hard. Or at least it is in my experience. I have not enjoyed that. My fingers have not liked it at all. Okay? It's folded down, and so what I want to do is I'm going to hem these. I'm going to do the same thing to here. Okay? And you could do this before or after. I'm going to do it now because I'm already here with the folding pen, fabric folding pen. We're just going to do it. Okay? And so this one I will probably pin up because I'm not going to sew it for just a little bit. Okay, and you can see it just folds really nicely right along that line, and will give me a nice crisp little edge. And then this little tool is, I think she calls it a seam roller. It's from Violet Craft. Ta-da! It's a little seam roller. So basically it's like an old wallpaper thing, and so there's a kind of a high point in the middle that lets you push the seam down and you get a really nice little crease. Okay? It just means I don't have to pull out my iron, which is super convenient. Alright, so one more along this edge. And I'll fold that up, do the same thing. Okay, we'll get that nice and smooth. Okay, the other thing that you can do, and this is what I did with his, is that I serged the edge. Okay, so I just took it to the serger and serged those edges. Super duper easy. You could do it. I just did it with like a 3-step or a 3-thread serge. You could also do it with a rolled hem, which would look really lovely too. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stick a pin right in this corner. So I feel like of anywhere that's going to come loose, it's going to be right there. And I want that to come through. Okay, there we go. Now it's going to hold on nice and tight. Okay, I think we're ready to sew. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Here I come.
All right, let's do this. We'll wake up my machine. All right, I'm going to have it set on a straight stitch. I've got, if I did remember right, yep, or are we stuck? I have a 80-12 needle, universal is what I have in here today. Okay, because we're working with a cotton. Normally when I work with batiks, I actually use a 70-10 needle, but we have a bunch of layers that we're going to go through at a couple points. So I've used an 80-12 needle, and like I said, it's a universal. And I also, you'll notice that I don't have the walking foot on there today. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hem these. Okay, hold on half a second, because if I'm going to wear it out in public, the threads have to match. So we're going to re-thread real fast, because that'll make me crazy. Actually, you know what? I'm trying to think. I think the gray is only going to work for the inside. So let's do that, and then we'll switch over. Okay, guys? It's funny because it's one of those things that I don't always care, and especially with Cuddle, I really I keep it in medium gray all the time. And then when it comes to cotton, I always want to switch things around and make things match. Okay, let's see if I can thread this. Oh, yes. Okay, does anybody else have this problem where it always likes to swirl around and get stuck back in between and does this little knot around my needle? I don't even know how I don't even know how I do that. Probably because I can't really see because I'm too lazy to put on my reading glasses. Let's do it. Okay. Oh my goodness. Everybody's like, come on, you can do it. All right, I did it. Yay! All right, so now let's sew this part. And we'll sew the other part. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sew a little zigzag along this edge. Just to hold it down. I'm just doing a little zigzag. I think it's 2.5. I'm gonna do a little bit wider there. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2.5 by 2.5. We'll see what that does. Hold on. Oh, I need my stiletto. Where is it? Ah, it's gonna eat it. Oh no, I knew it. I knew it was gonna do that. Okay, hold on, guys. I grabbed it and I was like, we're done. Look at that mess. Okay, I'm starting with the leader. Okay. All right, so if you don't know what a leader and an ender is, that's what this is. Okay. So then I can get this guy going in there. And it should feed through better. Yep, there we go. That'll teach me. Okay, so basically if you're having trouble ever with your fabric being eaten by your machine, those leaders and enders work really well. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut this guy off, bring it back around here, start it back up again. Okay, this is like really good chain piecing, works like this. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to come around to this end and do the same thing. So then if it needs a little bit of oomph, I've got this little tail back here that I can sort of pull it and make sure that it's coming through. That's really the key for those guys. Okay. The other thing is if your fabric is being eaten and you can do a straight stitch, or if you are doing a straight stitch, you can totally put on a single needle plate. But leaders and enders are, I don't know, my answer to a lot of problems. Okay, so now I've got this guy all done. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it into two 1.5 inch sections. Okay, so those ugly parts at the beginning and the end where it tried to eat my fabric, I'm just going to cut it off. So that's why I cut those a little bit bigger, is because then I can cut it off and make it neat. Okay, so here's my 3 inches, and then I'm just going to cut that in half, so I have two 1.5 inch strips. Okay, now I'm going to take that, make sure my seams were folded inside. Okay, give that a little press, Okay, so that one's ready to be installed later. Okay, and we'll do the same thing. Let's just press this down. Ta-da! Okay, so now there's our little side strips all ready to go. All right, now let's sew this guy together. And I'm just going to pin this in a couple of places because it's not going to move too much, but I am going to want it to swoop through those curves. Okay, and the pins will help me sort of guide that. All right, so let's sew this together. All right, so the seam allowance on this is 1/4 inch. On my machine, that's here, okay? So it's hard for me to see on this foot where it's gonna be. So I have this fancy little guide here, okay? That what I do is I move it over to there. Okay, so there I see where my 1/4 inch is, and I can sew from there. So this is on the crescendo, just so you guys know what I'm sewing on, what I'm using. But that way I can eyeball it. So it's like it's just past this edge. So that's what I use. It's like a little cheater. You could totally use a piece of tape here, would absolutely work. Or maybe you have a 1/4 inch foot that you want to use. Okay, so I'm going to put it to a straight stitch again, and then I'm actually going to tick my needle over, if I can do it the right direction. Yep, just a couple little ticks over. So what's happening is I'm now taking a little bit of a heavier 1/4 inch seam allowance, but what that does is makes the inside of the mask slightly smaller. It's like a garment sewing thing, so it's really not super important, but I've found that it makes it fit together a little bit better. Sort of like when you do an undercollar on a jacket. If any of you are garment sewists, you know what I'm talking about. So the key with that is remembering to put your needle back, which I'm going to do now, just in case, okay? All right, so now I've got that sewn. And I'm going to come back. I did have, see, I'm going to do it again. Oh, there it is, okay. I did have my little Fomori scissors, which work better for this process. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off my interfacing, just so I have a little bit less bulk. Okay. And I'm going to cut it right along that seam. Again, like I said, not something you have to do. I think as a garment sewist, like there's a lot of things that I do that I'm like, oh, well, I would do this if I were sewing a garment. I just transition it over to everything else that I sew. Okay, but I'm just going to trim that down. This interfacing is thin enough, but I do find that at the nose point, it helps a lot to get rid of it, just because that nose point gets thick. You end up having, I think, 4 layers plus your seam itself, which is extra bulky. Okay, all right. So then I'm just going to trim some little V's in here. Okay, this is when we did it before. I used my pinking shears, which you could absolutely use. Okay. Just trying to show you some different ways so that you could use both these videos to be helpful, to make you make masks that are actually comfortable and usable for you. All right, that's what I want. All right, so now I've got my pieces. You can see this is just right along that edge, so these are going to stay together, okay, and they're now just going to work as one piece. But now my seam allowance is actually just one layer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split that seam allowance, open it up, and I'm just going to sort of finger press it. Okay, if you want to, you can totally sew that on either side. We're not going to do that today. I have done it on a bunch of them, and I kind of just like how flat it makes it. But like I said, personal preference. Okay, I'm just going to press this. What I have found is this part is easy to do with finger pressing. You won't get it super smooth, but you can press it out later, or use a ham and a little iron. Okay, and then you can get that curve. All right, so once I've got this, then I'm going to switch it here, and I'm going to give it a little roll. Okay, sort of press out that seam allowance. Hope it stays just a little bit better that way. Okay, so now this is my inside. Okay, Okay, so this, you remember, I'm going to make the bandana style basically. So this is my inside. So this bottom part needs to be finished somehow. And I'm just going to do the same thing, and I'm going to fold this up and stitch it down. Okay. Let's see if I can press it just a little. Nope, it's not going to stay nearly as nice. Darn it. I was going to cheat. Okay, fine. I use the right tools. All right, so I'm going to drag this along here. Give myself a 1/4 inch little hem, basically. Okay, and I'll do the same thing over here. I suppose if I wanted to make it easier for myself, I would have done that before I sewed the curve together. Because now I'm like, oh yeah, let's move that. Okay.
There we go.
All right. It's in there somehow. All right. So now I'm just going to press this up. And then I can take this back over and sew up that bottom. So on a bunch of hours I did, I'm trying to think, did I do that on this one? Oh, okay. So this one I took it to the serger, and this is, I did a rolled hem. Okay, so that's what I did on this one. It's just a little rolled hem. So if you've got a serger, this is a super easy way of doing it. I think on here, yeah, then this one I just serged the edge of it. Oops, see, I just serged all the edges. Okay, so that's what I did on the bottom of this one. This one we're going to do today, I'm going to not hand stitch it. Ooh, no. I'm going to stitch it down. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Use my little leader ender to try to get it to not eat my fabric. Okay, all right, so let's see. We'll take it back to where we were. Actually, let's just do a straight stitch and see how that works. Okay. Okay, we're just going to stitch this right along. I'm going to grab my stiletto so I can hold this corner up as we kind of come around here. See if I can spread that out and push this up. Keep it in place where I want it to go as we come across there. Yep. Okay. Oh no, it's kind of missing. Poop. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Try to get that under there and catch all that. Okay. All right, there we go. Catch all that down. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, cut my thread. All right, there we go. Whew. Did it. Okay, so now we've got a bottom edge. Whatever works. So you can see this. So the three ways of doing it is, this is just a folded up edge, the rolled hem edge, or the serged edge. Okay, so now I've got the inside finished. I'm going to cut off these. Okay, it's my little scrappy piece. Okay, so now I've got this one. So now I can switch my thread around. All right. I'm trying to debate if I want to just do the whole thing in gray, and I might, but except for that darn hem. Let's wait till the end. Okay. I don't want to switch the thread around 18 times. Oh, we're going to have to. All right, sorry guys. We're going to switch the thread around because Teresa's going to get crazy about it.
Somebody
Just
brought
kidding.
it up because the machine has an auto threader. Do we want to talk about
Oh, we want to talk about the auto threader that isn't working right now, and I can't take it into a shop. Yeah, that's all. The threader works really well, but I think the little bitty wire on it got bent. So it does. Oh, darn it. So it doesn't work, unfortunately. Yeah, because the way that the auto threader works is that there's so I'll show you. So basically you come down, you're going to bring it around here. Oh, you cut your thread. So you cut your thread over at the side. So I've got my little tail. I put my foot down, and then I do the little auto threader, and it puts a little wire, but the little wire is I did something and moved that wire so it's not heading through there like it's supposed to. So yes, it does have an auto threader. And if it weren't, pandemic, I would just take it in and be like, hey, could you fix this? Hold on. Oh, this is hard to do. Okay. I'm also doing it totally from the side, which is not your normal angle of doing it. Okay. So also one of the things to do when you are threading your machine is to make sure that your foot is down, because it will make your thread stop pulling out. So if that's ever an issue, you're trying to thread your machine, it just keeps getting longer and longer and it's super frustrating, just put your foot down. Just put your foot down. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna turn my little laser off because I don't need it anymore. All right, let's see if we can do this again. Okay, ready? All right, now we're gonna hem this guy and see how it works. Yeah, okay, I was able to start in from the edge just a little bit there, which I knew would help it to not want to suck it down. Okay, I'm just gonna hold this as we come around. I'm gonna pivot at the corner and take it up the other direction. And you could do any sort of, I think this would be a fun place to do all those silly little stitches that your machine comes with. Comes, you know, like 800 stitches when you get it. This would be a fun little place to, you know, put little hearts, squares, duckies. Have fun with these things, guys. All right. So we're going to take that out. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to do while I'm here is I'm going to do my little dart here. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing up here. I'm going to put a pin so I can see it, because it's kind of hard to figure out where the end is. Sometimes it's hard to see it. So I'm going to put a little pin in here. So as I get closer, I'm going to sew along here, and then I'm going to kind of curve it in. All right. So get that going. All right. So then as I come along here, I can curve this down so it comes. Okay, now technically you're not supposed to backstitch on darts, but it's a nose dart on a mask. It's fine. Okay? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that little guy, so I can then split this open. Okay? So finger press that. Now we've got the front of our mask. So there's our little nose piece. Here's our chin. That's all hemmed. Okay, so then we'll just assemble it. Easy enough. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our the inside to the outside, basically. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this along here in a few places. What I have found is that when I'm lazy and I don't want to pin it, it gives me issues because you've got curves kind of going both ways. And so I end up fighting it a little bit more than I want to. And yeah, if you know me at all at this point, I don't really like fighting my fabric. So I've taken to pinning it a little more than I would have otherwise. Okay, it's because it kind of does a curve this way and then this way. Okay, so I'm just going to pin these a few times. Get this to match. Okay, so you'll notice that even though I took a bigger seam on the inside mask, it still totally fits perfectly fine. What I have found is if I don't do that, sometimes it's a little bit bigger, and I mean just the tiniest little bit, but it makes it so it doesn't pull in as well on the top. Okay, so I've got that all pinned across here. Now we're gonna go sew that together. Do a little back stitch. Okay, and this is just a roughly 1/4 inch. I'm not being super precise about it, and that's okay, because at this point we're just sewing the two together. So if it's a little bit of a heavy or a little bit of a light 1/4 inch, it's still going to work out. We just basically want those edges to match is what I'm trying to do. And you can see it kind of has to fight just a little bit, but not terrible. Okay. All right, and then we're going to back stitch.
Jackie sent those pictures to Ellen. She was trying via Messenger. She was trying to get those pictures from earlier.
Oh, got it.
And they won't post right now. So
oh,
get to
well,
it.
Darn it. Okay.
Trying.
thanks for trying. If you want to see, because she's talking about the digital cuddle, because she had made some really cute little pillows and a throw that she has pictures of. One, I think she posted them on the I Love Cuddle group. So if you're not over there yet, you should be, and then you could see them. The other one is that you can go to the Shannon Fabrics website, and you can see them over there. Okay, you can see all the digital prints there. Okay, so you can see I just pushed that up. I like to do a little edge stitching, so I'm going to do that real fast. I push all the seam toward the inside. Okay, so this is the outside. I pushed it all toward the inside, and then I'm going to top stitch this in place. I've just found that it lays a little bit better, and I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to put this on here, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball the edge of my fabric along this edge here. So I think, let me see, put my needle down. Yep, that'll be good enough. Okay, so I'm just going to run right along there. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure that when I'm doing this, that I can feel that the fabric is all, that the seam allowance is pointed toward the inside. Okay, now as I'm coming around here, it's a little bit funky, so I kind of have to do some pulling and kind of just spreading the fabric to make sure that it goes where I want it to go. Taking that curve nice and slow. Okay. And then where it's straight, I can go a little faster. Finish it up. All right, so what that does is it makes it so all of this, when I fold this now over, it all goes toward the back. So very neatly, it's all going to fold right over and lay in place. Okay, so I don't get any of that where this inside fabric wants to come toward the front. You can see it just will very neatly lay in place. Okay, so not a must do, but just works pretty well. A lot of times I'll do it about 1/8 of an inch, but this works totally fine. All right, okay, so now we're going to put our little side bits in. All right, so these little side panels go in here. So what I do, let's see if we can show this. I think we probably can pretty well. So what I do is I line it up on here, and I'm going to get this so that this butts up basically to the seam between the two. Okay, then what I do is I kind of give it a little yank, pull it over, and get all of those to nest in there. And then I pin it through all the layers. Okay, so as I'm going, I want to make sure that these all stay nice and taut. So I just hold them, and you can see me sort of pull them.
I'm going to ask you to do that again.
Okay.
Do that again.
Yep, let's do it again. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to get it so that when this comes, that it's right in the corner. Okay, so I'm going to put this right up there, right next to the seam line. I'm going to pin it in place. Okay, and here I'll take this down and pin this down here too. Okay, so now I've got my little piece where I want it to be, and I'm going to take this back side and I'm going to bring it around, and I'm going to pull it really nice and taut so that it fits into that corner up there. Okay, then I'm going to repin it. Okay, and if you have a hard time holding this really nice and tight, don't worry about just sticking another pin in there and then taking that first pin out. Sometimes holding things really tight like that is hard, and I get that. Okay. All right, so, whoops. I did that and then I let go of everything. Speak of the devil. Okay. All right, so then I'm going to pin these all together, and then I pin it in the middle too to keep it in check there. Keep it where I want it to stay. Okay, because you'll see that this middle part, it kind of wants to sag down. I'm just going to pull it up, make sure it stays there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So we get to see it once more. Okay, so I'm going to stick it up here. So this is where I want that edge to match right up there. Okay, do it from the other angle. Okay, so I've got that in there, and then I'm going to take this and I kind of just yank it over, pull it, and make sure that this sits nice and flat up here. I'm going to repin that in place. Okay, And then I'm going to come over here and pin these all together. All right. So we'll pin in the middle and at the end just to keep them all where I want them to be. Okay, so sometimes I will pin I will do the nose thing. We're going to do it at the end so I can show you guys, but sometimes I do the nose thing before. So on this one I did it before I sewed these sides together so that the nose thing doesn't show on this side. Okay, so you can do it either way. I'm going to show you the other way since I can show you here how to do it, but you could also do it before you do this step. Okay, all right, so now we're going to sew these sides together. All right, and I'm going to start in just a little bit because I want to be able to go backward and catch it all really well up at that corner. Okay. So this is someplace that you need to make sure that you're catching it nice and tight. I'm using a 2.5 stitch, which works just fine. But make sure that you haven't used a basting stitch and that you're using good quality thread, because this is where it's going to get the pull, is along these sides. Okay, so I'm going to set it in just a little bit. Do a little back stitch, and then we'll go forward. Okay, and I want these to basically match up at that seam where they come together. So I'm going to try to just hold it in place. The other one worked out really nicely. Oh, that one worked out pretty good too. Okay. Okay, so if you wanted to, you could finish these seams. I'm not going to. I'm going to try to remember to clip my threads. That's about as far as that goes. Okay. I'm going to clip those threads off. Oh my goodness. I remember talking to my grandma once, because my grandma sewed, and she was one who like always trimmed all of her threads as she went, and I'm still, as you saw on my quilt, one who's like 3 years later I'm still trimming threads, like, oh darn it, I missed that. Okay, so then we've gotten that sewn together. Okay, now we're just going to pop these out. So if I just give these a little tug, they'll come out nice and straight basically along that edge. Okay, give this a little tug. Okay, get those to come out really nice along the sides. Okay, so if you don't want the nose wire, this is where you would stop and you'll put the elastic in. But we're going to put that little nose wire strip in there because I really do prefer it for how it sits on my face. I feel like it suits me much better. Oh no, I have to find it. What did I do with it? I move things and then they get lost. What happened? You guys. Okay, who stole it? Which one of you took it?
Not it.
Yeah, you're the other one here, Hawk. Oh my goodness. Oh, there it is. One of these days. Okay, so what I do is I'm going to fold this in half. And I'm going to find the center. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on that middle seam. Okay?
Oops, sorry, I missed that.
So I'm going to put this right there so that the middle matches the middle, basically. All right, and then I'm going to pin along here. Okay, this is where it's a little bit thick up here, but not too terrible. Okay, so one of the reasons that I sometimes, often, I guess, put it on the inside first is because then it can be stitched really badly and nobody will ever see it. But with a little practice, I've gotten better at it. Okay, I also make this a little pocket so that I can take my wire out. But you don't have to. You could actually just sew the wire in, especially if you're just hand washing them. Oh, so let's talk about washing them really quick. So I was listening to a show yesterday, I think on NPR or something, I can't remember, and they were talking about how much you needed to wash them, and so I thought I would share that information with you, is that they were saying that if you wore them someplace that wasn't like, you know, densely populated isn't quite the right word, but you know what I mean. There aren't a ton of people there. You just, you know, run over to I don't know, 7-Eleven. There's not a lot of people. Take it off when you get home. Make sure that you're not touching the front of your mask. Hang it up in the sun, and you could use it the next day. Okay, don't use it again the same day though. But you should wash them every 2 or 3 washes for sure. 2 or 3 wears for sure. Which I thought was good advice. And I just hand wash mine and then stick them in the sun to dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch right along here and then come back and stitch right along here. Okay. So I do it from this side and then just hope for the best. I should probably get rid of those pins, do you think? I've got quite a little collection going on here. Okay. So I'm going to start here. And I'm going to put on my little glasses so I can see better. Okay. Okay, get that pin out. And then I'm just going to make sure I'm on a straight stitch. Yep. Okay. And then you can straight stitch or zigzag, whichever one you want, all the way around this. What I'm doing is I'm just looking and trying to make sure that I'm catching that edge up there. Okay, and in just the tiniest bit. So sometimes the zigzag is a little helpful because you can kind of catch a wider area with it. You don't have to be quite so specific about it. Take one stitch back. But the straight stitch is fine too. Either one. Okay, and then we're just going to sew across the end. So this is the end that I sew shut. And then I'm going to come back. Okay, and as I'm working past this, when I'm coming back here, you can see like this is like kind of wibbly and it doesn't really match exactly. So we're going to do the same thing as we did when we did that top stitching and just kind of take it slow. And basically I sew one side. So I sew up to the middle and then sort of rearrange things. Make sure I'm catching that. If you do this and then you realize you didn't catch something, just go back and fix it. Just go catch it. It's fine. A lot of mine have 2 things of stitches because I was like, oh, missed it. Okay. So this is why I wanted to do it with the gray, because then it would hide better, but also you guys can see it so much better now. Okay. All right. That little tail off. Oops. Okay, so now I've got my little nose wire piece all sewn in there. Okay, you can see it on this side, but it's not too terrible at all. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I take a piece of wire. This one should be about 4 inches. Yep, so it's about 4 inches, and then I take the very end of it, because these ends are sharp because I've had to like bend them and break them. So I just take the very end of it and bend it over and smash it down. Okay, and that way they're not going to stab you. You can see that one. It's like super stabby right there. Okay, we don't want that poking anybody in the nose. So I just bend it over, smash it down, smash it real good. Okay, then that can get fed right in there. Okay, all right. So then we've got that. I've got it all figured out. It's all in there. It shouldn't pop through this end. If it does, you'll just stitch right over it again. All right. And now we're going to do the sides. Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Okay. So now I've got here, I've got my big long tube. Okay. Not tube, strip of elastic. So what I need to do is cut this at 26 inches. So I've got my little bit of my little bitty safety pin here. Okay, cut it at 26 inches. And so then, like I said, 26 has worked for everything. I don't think, have I shortened any of them that I've done for you? I can't remember. I don't think so. So we've got our little strip here. And I'm just going to feed it through with a rubber band. They have some that are like long plastic needles that you can use for elastic. I guess it's like kind of a bodkin. Okay. The only thing that I make sure that I do is that when I come around here, okay, is that I'm going to come back and I'm going to feed it through so that it's basically straight through again. Okay, so you can see that this is the back side of it, and I'm going to try to feed it through so it comes through here again. Okay. So the shiny side is out. If it gets twisted, it gets twisted. It's not a huge deal, but it will help it lay better. So one of the things that I've done is I just knot them. If you want to, you could sew those ends shut. I just find it much easier to do it this way. And I haven't had any issue. I've knotted them a couple of different ways, like basically a square knot or then whatever this is. And this works totally fine where I just hold these two together. Put it through. Okay, then the key is to sort of work this knot back up so that that isn't too terribly long. So you want it so that it's a 1/2 inch or less. Okay, so I just kind of work it up there and then just get it so that it's pulled real tight. All right, so then I can just cut that off. So as I work it, as you saw, so I pulled it and then a whole bunch comes out, but if I cut this off, I've lost about 1 inch or something of it, which doesn't seem to matter too much, okay, because the elastic has so much stretch. So that's the nice thing about this. All right, are we ready to see if it worked?
Yeah.
See if it's is it actually a mask? Will it work? Will it go over my head? Yes, it will. Okay, so the way that it works, you just slip it over the one side. This part is going to come underneath my chin. This part is going to come over. Okay. Is it right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. Okay. Get that up here on top of my head. So for me, it needs to sit right at the crown, or it likes to fall down. But then, yeah, that seems to work, right? Feels good. Okay. With the batiks too, it's nice because they don't feel heavy on your face because they're kind of a lighter weight fabric. So it actually feels okay on my face, and because it's smoother than a lot of cottons, because of being such a fine or a higher thread count, it's actually smooth on the face. All right. Are we good? I think we need to put the camera down and then you can try on your mask so we can show the differences. Okay. I'm just going to move it around here. Oh, we've moved you over here. Oh, you're going to come over here? Oh, sorry. No, that's fine. I was just going to set the camera down.
Okay, great.
But how do we switch it? Oh, there we go. Hi guys, I'm back. Okay, let's see if we can set this down so we can both be here. Okay. Hi, thanks for coming along with all of my craziness here. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Whew. All right. So that's that one. Here's yours. Okay, I'll show you the differences. So we're like, oh yeah, my face is a lot wider than yours. Okay. So his is narrower, and you can see how it hangs. It hangs differently. Okay, it's just because it's narrow. But you can see the difference here. Show you. Okay. We'll see if we can tell a difference with the nose wire. On the outside versus the inside. Okay, so this one's on the no, you can't see the little sewing. I think this one also is a little bit wider. My little wire is wider. Okay, all right. So very helpful. This is what you want, is to make sure these are like scrunched up. Okay, so if you're getting a gap in your mask at all, make sure that you're squishing these up. Okay, so his squishes up a lot, and that's the way that it should be, because you want this to be flat against your skin. Okay, and then it goes underneath your chin across your nose. So make sure that you're wearing it properly as well. Okay, so if you're going to wear the mask, please wear it right. Okay,
that's where it tucks up tight under my chin, even though I've got this Bendito look. Right.
So some people have wondered, like, oh, how can you do that? Because then you have all this air, but we actually have that inside chin thing. All right, I'm going to flip it around so I don't have to stare at myself. It's kind of weird. I'm not used to it. There he is. Okay. So with any questions, I can't read the phone when I have my contacts in. Right. Let me see. There's something here. Let me see. Well, we have a winner, but we also had a question about the little roller, about the little Violet Craft seam roller. This one, some stores carry it. You can also get it from violetcraft.com. if you don't know, she makes super cool patterns, and we did the wolf out of Lux Cuddle, which is pretty amazing. So, and her name is actually Craft, which is kind of the coolest thing ever. So anyway, that's where you get the seam roller. All right, any other questions in there? We're good? Okay, so winner. So today's winner is Barbara Wright from Cary, North Carolina. So congratulations to Barbara. You can email us or we'll reach out to you. But if you want to just send us a direct message or a private message, whatever, an iMessage on the Facebook, then you can send us your name. Well, obviously we have your name, but your address, and we will get this off to you ASAP. So I'll probably ship it out tomorrow because it's all gathered together and ready to go. And I'll send you the pattern, the interfacing, the fold over elastic, and all of those lovely batiks. So I'm kind of excited about that. We'll be back next week. We're going to be doing pillowcase. That's what we're going to be doing. I was like, I remembered. I looked it up this morning. We're going to be doing a cuddle pillowcase next week. So we're going to do those in a couple of variations. I'm going to do one. I'll show you a couple that are child friendly and then some that are adult friendly. So they'll have some variations on that. Also, the Cuddle Kit giveaway, please don't forget to sign up for that. If you haven't already, that's on our blog. You can also find this pattern on our blog, and you can find all of our videos on YouTube and Facebook. So if there aren't any more questions, right? We're good?
Can we put one of the bandana versions up next to the pattern, just real quick?
Oh, yeah. Up to the, like the paper pattern?
Yeah, I think that's what the ask is. Yeah.
Okay.
Super quick.
Yep. So here's not his. Okay, I'll just get mine. Here's mine. Okay. Ta-da! That's how those work. Originated from this paper pattern. Wow! That was exciting. So this paper pattern, okay, I translated it into this one. Remember, 11 inches, okay, becomes this style, all right? Just make sure that when you're doing it that you actually have this inside part that still goes around your chin, all right? That's really, really important. Okay, if there are any questions, I'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be making a little pillowcase, and until then, happy sewing. Bye.